Hey everybody, welcome on into your go-to show for sports here on the Shore, the Delmarva Sports Insider. I'm Sports Director Brandon Bossert. Let's go over what we have in store for you tonight. We had 4 teams in Delaware competing for spots in their respective championships, including a 1A showdown in Dagsboro. Who advanced between Indian River and Polytech? In Maryland, Decatur and Cambridge with home games tonight. Could the Seahawks return to the state semifinals? And the Governor's Challenge right around the corner. We'll take you through Media Day. But first, tonight we start in Berlin, where the undefeated Seahawks welcomed in Walkersville. Not only did the visiting Lions have the defending champions to deal with, but they were out of their element from the start. Let's take you out there now as the Seahawk faithful out in force tonight. They were treated to a show. Decatur near the goal line early. Johnny Hobgood toward the end zone. Ethan Bradshaw is there to haul it in. Great touch on the pass from Hobgood. Decatur strikes first. Seahawks dominating on all 3 phases. Here comes the rush, and it's Brett Scholes with the block. Picked up by senior lineman Sully Alker, who takes it inside the 5, leading to a short Blake Wallace field goal. And the Hawks led by 10. Now, if you weren't outside tonight, it was cold, it was windy, it was wet. And Walkersville couldn't wait to get back on that warm bus. Fumble, ball picked up by Ethan Bradshaw, his second of the day. And the route was on. More defense from the Seahawks here. Walkersville looking to get anything going. Pass tipped and picked off. Brooks Waters with the interception as the rain continues to pour down. And the home team capitalizing on that miscue. Hobgood, the fade. Tribewise is there. Another touchdown, this time for the senior wideout, a 23-0 game when the 2-point conversion failed. But wow, was the Seahawk defense sensational tonight. How about another turnover? Passes up. There's Trey Dorn with the concentration to come down with the catch and the interception. It was all Decatur tonight. They would score one more before halftime. Zachary Baker hauling it in, and the stats tell the story of this one. Decatur holds Walkersville to just 2 first downs, allowing 0 completions through the air, and they got those 2 interceptions as well. The Seahawks winning this one 37-0. They are off to the state semifinals, where they will play Westlake, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. But for right now, let's move over to the 1A. Cambridge South Dorchester hopes to take down the 3-time state champions Fort Hill. Now, Fort Hill to start with the ball here. Nash Castle handing off to Jabril Daniels. Shakes off the defender. Runs into traffic. He's off and going. Touchdown for Fort Hill. They started off 6-0. Vikings knocking on the door now. Anthony Hughes launches it to Kamari Stanley. And he's down the field all alone. Tied it up at 6. Hughes has the ball. Passes to Antonio Bluford there. Has a defender on him, but doesn't matter. He comes down with that one. Great fight on that catch. 12-6 Vikings. Castle passing it off to Daniels once again. Run it to the outside, cuts it back, and bullies his way in for the score. That put Fort Hill up 13-12, and from there, it was all Hillers. Another pass off to Daniels. Fort Hill up 21-12. Noah House in at quarterback, runs it to the outside. There's Braylon Younger adding on to the score. That made it 30-12. Hughes goes back to throw, sacked by House for the safety. And the Vikings failing to take down the 3-time champions. They put out a great effort today against Fort Hill, but unfortunately just could not get it done as they fall 30-12. But a fantastic season for the Cambridge Vikings. First loss of the season, first and only. Hate to see it in the quarterfinals, but a tremendous season for Cambridge South Dorchester. And now to one more final score from tonight. Easton taking the trek over the bridge, and they fall against Milford Mill, 42-7 the final score. But hats off to Easton on a fantastic season as they made it all the way to the quarterfinals for the first time in 3 decades. Huge accomplishment for this team. Let's take a look ahead now to next week as Decatur will welcome in Westlake. Westlake went a stout 7-2 this season, but one of those 2 losses was to another semifinalist, Huntingtown. They will need to make their near 3-hour trek over to Berlin for next week's game. That could be a factor, as well as the fact that the Seahawks are probably the best team in the 2A right now. The other semifinal game, all the usual suspects in 2A. Milford Mill and Huntingtown. We've seen those teams in the last few semifinals when Kent Island and Decatur have been in it the last 2 years, and they are right back there once again. We'll have more from Decatur coming up later this week. Now let's move over to Delaware, the 1A semifinals featuring an all-Henlopen duel down in Dagsboro as Indian River hosting Polytech. Members of the IR band just out there having fun despite those miserable conditions. Indian River knew exactly what to do in this weather. Give it off to their running backs, let their line do the rest. Moving down the field, eventually they would break through. Javion Chandler on the carry, gets lost in the crowd, then emerges in the end zone. Indian River goes up by 2 scores. The home team trying for 2. Give it back to Chandler. This time finds pay dirt, goes in standing. That made it a 14-0 game, just a minute to go in the first half. So Polytech needs a response before the break. They would take to the air. Isaac Bolseric going down the middle. Polytech gets down to enemy territory. Watch this play. Just throws off the defender, making things happen. Slips to the left, throws it for his brother Simon down the sidelines. But check this out. Cue Don Henley as there was some dirty laundry on the field. They would bring that play back for an ineligible man downfield. That's how this first half would come to a close as Indian River went into the locker room ahead 14-0. IR would continue the onslaught in the second half. The give right here to Chandler. Once again, Indian River leading by a 22-0 score after the ensuing 2-point conversion. Polytech wouldn't just lay down without a fight, though. They got the score to within 30-22 in the final minutes, but it was just too little too late. As Indian River wins, they advance to the 1A championship game coming up next weekend in Dover. And we will wait to see the winner of the other 1A game between Tatnall and Brandywine tomorrow. The winner of that game will face Indian River in the 1A championship. Meanwhile, a tough night for our other teams in the semifinals up in Newcastle County as Sussex Central falls to the champions. Salesianum in 3A, 39-13. Malik Bell scoring for the Knights, but he was held to just 56 yards total. Meanwhile, it was Aiden Lego for Salesianum who went off on the ground, 204 yards and 3 touchdowns for him. But hey, congratulations to Central on a great season. Meanwhile, Woodbridge shut out by Caravel tonight. Between Laurel and Woodbridge, Caravel, the defending state champions, have defeated those two Henlopen teams by a combined 69-0 score in the last 2 weeks in the playoffs. No shame there losing to maybe the most dominant team in Delaware as Woodbridge finishes the season at 8-4 overall. Now let's turn to basketball, but first, make sure that you're keeping up with us on social media while we're at these games. Follow 47 ABC WMDT Sports on X and Facebook right now. Like I said, let's move over to basketball. High school hoops doesn't start for another couple of weeks, but it's time to start thinking about the Governor's Challenge, this time bigger than ever, as if you've never been to Salisbury, the Governor's Challenge, you've never seen it before, you love good basketball, you need to make sure that you come down here and make a trip because we're beginning the countdown to the largest holiday basketball tournament in the nation starting right now. We got to meet with over 100 players and coaches yesterday from teams across Delmarva at Media Day. This year, we'll see 140 teams from 16 states in Canada, not just the best players and teams from the Bayside and Henlopen conferences, but also some of the top 100 recruited players across the country. For 5 days, these young players will take the stage under the bright lights of the Civic Center and other nearby arenas.
It was honestly a ton of fun, and we did end up winning, so it was just cool to see us all come together in the heat of the moment, because the tournament can be very pressuring because there's scouts there, stuff like that.
Because we get to play on a college floor. The exposure's good, the opportunity, just the environment, and we don't get too many opportunities like this, so it's definitely a different feel.
I played before. I played 2 years prior to this. It's cool. You play in front of a lot of people, and it's high stakes. It's real fast competition.
And there are a number of teams and players who will be in their first ever Governor's Challenge from Ardella. None of the players on the roster have played in the Governor's Challenge in a Warrior uniform. Those players ready to show what they have in front of the bright lights and the big stage, plus a number of scouts and college coaches who will be in attendance as well. We heard from others who will be taking the floor for the first time, and for them, it's a golden opportunity to show what they can do under those lights.
I've been waiting 3 long years to play here in the Governor's Challenge, and I understand it now, so it's worth it. So we have not been in the Governor's Challenge for, I think, 8 years, and this is about our first time back.
I think it's definitely going to be competitive since we're not used to it. It's going to be a new environment for us. We're just going to have to stay strong, push through it, and keep our energy up, just keep going with everything.
I think it's important for them to see different types of competition, so playing some Maryland schools will be good experience and exposure for the team.
So the Governor's Challenge gets underway on December 26th and runs through the 30th. It's a great time. Make sure you get out there for that. That's going to do it for our A block. We're calling our first time out. But when we return, we are taking a look back at last weekend. 3 soccer championships from the Henlopen and Bayside. That and more when Delmarva Sports Insider returns.
I'm Jordan Holloman, 5-time state champion with Delmarva, and you're watching Delmarva Sports Insider.